All right.
Share my
So,
screen.
thank you for coming to our TA call, Parents as Agents of Change. TJ and I worked on this together, and I'm really excited about discussing it. Oh,
Well, one second, I'm gonna
I
share.
need slides. Hold on,
Yeah,
guys.
it's a sharing of
No, you're
the
good, TJ. I'm looking at slides on my screen, and so like my brain was just like y'all are looking at slides too. There we go. Okay, we can go to the next one. Um, so our objectives today are understanding what the PAC model is, or Parents as Agents of Change, explore why the PAC model matters in family peer support, learn how family peers can use the PAC model in real conversations, identify barriers families face, practice creating collaborative strategies with caregivers, and connect PAC to the empowerment and family-driven care. So for an icebreaker, we'd like you to think about a time when you faced a challenge or that's a change and a tricky situation in your personal or professional life. So what were the challenges? What made acting difficult? What helped you to move forward? And was there a person, resource, or belief that increased your confidence? And if you would like to, I would love if you come off mute or put it in the chat and answer some of these.
I'll go.
Okay.
Okay. So I had the challenge of helping a dad to try to get his place. The problem was he was being very difficult about reaching out to his contacts and keeping up. So we're now, I say, 5 months in, and he's still not doing what he needs to do.
You're in the right
What
place.
what made it very difficult is I had to learn it's not what I want, it's what he wants.
Yes,
So I can't force him to want to have his own place. He has to want it for himself.
absolutely.
So moving forward, I just explained to him, listen, you're going to have to reach out to me and let me know when you've spoken to someone or if you followed up with them for future reference so that I can continue to work with you. If not, I'm going to have to get back to you and you're going to have to let me know when you're ready.
Gotcha.
So he has all the resources. He has all
Right,
the contacts. He has all the right people to talk to. He just doesn't want to. But
right. And so
yeah, Dan,
go, go ahead.
what makes me believe that he is going to get it done is he's going to run out of places to run to.
Right. And we'll talk a little bit more today about maybe what some of the barriers are
Mhm.
to that maybe he doesn't even recognize, or
Yes.
because he doesn't recognize them, you can't recognize them either. So hopefully today will be helpful for you to sort of recheck in with him and see if any of this pertains. I think probably
Okay.
so.
Okay.
Anybody else with a family or personally, things that like you have had, you have to do it, you want to do it, you just can't do it?
I do have one with a family.
Mhm.
The mom is she's the only support that she has.
Mhm.
And I feel that she just has an overall, she's making all the choices and it's left to her. And she goes through the roof so fast with anxiety. And I think she doesn't think about everything else and and how it's affecting her youth.
Mm.
And I'm finding that to be very challenging for me.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely it can be. Especially when you feel like, it's hindering the youth, or maybe I think we've all probably heard to some degree or another, like I'm good, you just need to fix them, referring to the youth, and that can be really hard.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
I have a client that had brain surgery, and then needs yearly CAT scans because there's a piece of tumor still attached to his brain.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, he needed 33 sessions of radiation, less than a year of the surgery of try to remove most of the tumor. But anyway,
Huh?
he's having issues because he has a roommate. The roommate is leaving, so now he can't afford the rent, but he does have a personal care aide and would like to try to have the personal care aide um he would like me to advocate for the personal care aide to become lived-in aide. And I don't even know where to begin with some of this stuff at all.
I have no idea.
Yeah, this is a
That might be something to bring to our cafe, our FPA cafe.
okay.
And maybe people will have ideas or whatnot there.
Right. Because he also he has visitations of his daughter, but family members are not allowing him to see his daughter. And his daughter's in the Poconos. It's a gated community, so
Oh, okay.
yeah, so the but still she's not allowing him. The guardians are now not allowing him to see his daughter since 2022. Meanwhile, his parental rights were never terminated, and he does has visitation rights.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I'm working with that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, same.
So thank
Mhm.
you.
Can
TJ, I
I
think put
wait, wait,
some.
wait? Can I ask you a question? Do they believe that he shouldn't see his daughter because of his condition?
Well, no, no, it has nothing to do with his condition.
Okay.
It started out as a different case, and then he's been fighting for his daughter since she was born. She's gonna be 14 in December. It started out as one thing and then ended up on another end, and then he had overall this going on with him. So, no, the Guardians are retired NYPDs. So,
Okay.
so when you put you two retired NYPDs with someone that has history, a lot of lived experiences, that's why the Guardians don't want to allow to see the father. So, but the thing is, they're going against court orders.
Yeah.
Oh, geez, that sounds like a mess. Yeah,
It
if
is a
Yeah.
you
mess. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a mess. Yeah.
come to the cafe, maybe you can get some guidance. And TJ also put in the chat, I think, some links for you to look at.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it. Can
Of
I get the
course.
information for the cafe?
Yes, at the end
Thank
it
you.
will be on there. Of course.
Okay, thank you.
So, what is the PAC model? The PAC model, or Parents as Agents of Change, it helps FPAs guide the caregivers to identify barriers in a non-judgmental way, understand what influences caregiver action, supports caregivers in creating realistic strategies, and builds self-efficacy and confidence. So, has anyone used the PAC model, or are they familiar with it? So, if you're professionally credentialed, you've heard of it. If you're like me, you perhaps forgot about it. And so when I started doing the 4-day training, when I came to Families Together, I had forgotten the PAC model existed. And it's just such a really simple, family-driven tool to use that I wanted to, in partnership with TJ, review it so that you guys can get a refresher or an introduction if you haven't done the 4-day training, and use the resource with your families, just because it's really effective, and it really supports the caregiver in deciding what what's getting in their way and what they want to do, and if they want to do it. Sometimes maybe the answer is that they don't want to do the thing that they're saying that they want to do. So why do we use the PAC model? Often families face barriers that are not immediately visible. Caregivers may want to change, but they feel overwhelmed or unsure where to start. Traditional problem solving alone does not address motivation, confidence, or emotions. The PAC model helps families and FPAs understand what's getting in the way of action. And the PAC model provides a framework for supporting empowerment rather than dependency. And it helps families to build confidence, self-efficacy, and sustainable change. So as family peer advocates, we often meet families who know what they want for their child, but struggle to take that next step. So it can be easy to assume that the family's resistant, unmotivated, or not engaged, but the reality is often much more complex. So families may be facing fear, past negative experiences, trauma, self-doubt, or practical barriers that can make challenge feel difficult. The PAC model moves us beyond asking why aren't they doing it, and instead asking what's getting in the way. By understanding factors that influence behavior, we can better support caregivers in identifying barriers, recognizing strengths, and developing realistic strategies moving forward. So rather than solving problems for the families, the PAC helps us partner with them to build their confidence and self-efficacy. And when the caregivers believe that they can succeed and they feel supported in taking a small, achievable step, they're more likely to remain engaged and create long-lasting positive change for themselves and their children. This approach aligns closely with the core values of family peer support, including empowerment, collaboration, and family-driven care. So the core goal of the PAC model is to move families from I can't do this. You ahead of me, TJ.
I apologize.
You're good. I was like, I'm not there yet. Okay. The core goal of the PAC model is moving families from I can't do this to I can take the next step. So, using the PAC model and having the caregivers take the time to answer each area, they can find a way to move forward, whether they want that or what they want it to look like. So has anyone ever had a phone call that they needed to make or an appointment that they needed to attend and just seemed to have a block in the way? I know I personally have. If somebody asks you, why aren't you doing it? And you couldn't answer, that's what the PAC model is going to support. It's going to take us away from the feeling of what's wrong with me, or it's easy and why am I not doing it, to I can do this and I want to. Um, I don't even remember who said this to me, but it's shitting all over yourself. Like I should do this and I should do that and I should do this. And you can't do it for whatever reason, or you're not doing it. And then you just shit all over yourself. So the PAC model is going to help with that. You like that, TJ? Stop shitting all over yourself.
All right. So there's a couple of things that we have to understand how the foundation of the PAC model will work for us. So ultimately, as we know as FPAs, or those credentialized is rooted in family-driven care. We all should know what that means, but if not, family-driven care means the family's always driving. Nothing about them without them. No meetings, no plans, no goals are set without the family being present and something that they signed off on. Empowerment. I believe this is at the root of what we're doing because most of the families who come see us feel powerless. So our job is to endorse their empowerment. How do we do this, right? So with that is with collaboration and understanding. We collaborate with other entities or networks along with the family, their extended families, if they are present to help with the goal setting and the healing of this family. We use strength-based approach. Families come to us with all their pains, what's working, what's not working. But that what we want to do is continuously highlight their successes and their strengths. Them even getting up and getting dressed to come to meet you, or to pick up the phone call, to participate in virtual, or all forms of strengths that got them somewhere. It's kind of like what we say, but at least I say to my kids in the morning, hey, you can make your bed. That's one thing that you can check off your list for today, right? So we are gradually building upon what we're able to accomplish or have accomplished. Active listening. This is, we need to be listening to the family and what they bring to the table. So in that, it means stop your thinking, stop being solution focused. A lot of us tend to be solution focused, even though we appreciate not delivering a cookie cutter approach. But your mind cannot help but to try and support the family the best way you can. But generally, the best way is just sit there and listen, and just regurgitate what they said to you to make sure that we caught every aspect of what they have spoken to us about before moving forward. Because this shows the family that you are listening and that you want to help, that they're just not another number and you're trying to rush them through the door. So the self-efficacy building is to get the families to be in this position where they know that they can, that they get to a point where what we're trying to do is work ourselves out of a job. That self-efficacy building is to teach them how to continuously grow and build upon themselves and their strengths and what they know. And also ultimately how to ask for help, because asking for help is building that self-efficacy. Because that means they're continuously grabbing this knowledge and information for them to grow and heal. So what the pact is not is, again, we're not telling the caregivers or the families what to do. It has nothing to do with us doing for the families. We do not, unless they're sitting next to us or have some type of disability or they're just too stressed out and they ask you for help, and you go over with it with them and you sign off. They sign off on what the goals, the objectives, plan of actions are, but we're not doing anything for the families. Now, part of this is if we have to come across a family and they don't know how to do it, we with them in the room, let's say make the phone call or maybe help them fill out one form, get them accustomed to doing things on their own. But sometimes they might need that visual support at first, but that's not you doing it for them, right? You're just giving those steps. It's ultimately what we do with our own families. We're not here to fix families. That's not our job. Our job is to train them to get ready to fix themselves, whatever that looks like. Um, don't take too much upon yourself. This is not what we're doing. We see a family in need, we have resources, we provide solutions, but ultimately the family gets to pick. And you don't want to be in that position if something fails and the family said, well, you told me to do this. Or, you made me seem like I was broken. That's when we lose trust, right? And then taking over for the caregivers. Sometimes we might see some behaviors in the home like, I won't allow that to happen, or I'd handle it this way. It's not our job. It's not our culture. It's not what we're supposed to be doing. We're not here to take over for anybody. Again, it's just building supports, building that strength, that self-efficacy, that self-empowerment, and the self-advocacy. Compliance focused work ties it all in. We're not trying to get the family to just comply to whether your organization is pushing you or maybe you've been working with this family for too long and it seems stagnant. Our objective is not to be compliance focused. We have to meet the families where they are. Diagnosing families. In your role as an FPA, most of us are not wearing dual hats. We're not doing FPA work and therapy. Therefore, we should not be diagnosing families. If we are meeting our family as an FPA, providing that peer support, it's not what we're doing. We may participate at those meetings with the family for IEPs, for diagnoses, and in that we can help them navigate other strategies and services, but we do not diagnose, no matter what the situation or no matter what it looks like. Any questions or comments?
The empowerment continuum. So we're going to go from doing for families, always with them, to doing with families, to cheering families on. So when families don't have a skill to take action, it is okay to do for a family, but you always have to do it while you are with the family. Model the skills, talk the steps out loud as you take them, and ask, is there anything we did that you feel you might need further support with? Once a family has seen you complete the skill and is willing to try, have the family do the skill while you're there to support, problem solve, and coach. When the family completes the skill and reports back to you, celebrate with them at how much they've grown. Remember, we should never do tasks for families when we are not with them. you are denying them the chance to learn the skill to use in the future for their benefit. Sometimes I think it is important though for us to recognize that while a family might have all the tools or all the information given to them and they aren't doing that next step, and you'll go through the PAC model, always being curious about were they ever exposed to those skills? They might not have ever had anybody teach them how to make a phone call professionally or teach them how to fill out paperwork. And so they're just looking at the sheet and feel really overwhelmed and they just freeze. So just asking curious questions to see if maybe they need more support and practice doing it with you or watching you do it so that they can build up that knowledge and that confidence. So what happens when we do too much for families?
That it could come off, put in the chat.
They expect you to do it again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a really good one.
Anyone else?
They feel entitled.
Mm-hmm.
It's saying that we think that they can't do it.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. They
That's a
become
big one
dependent.
for me. In
I
the
would,
chat, they become dependent. Go ahead,
Mm.
Maria.
sorry, I would say they stop believing that they can and they start
Mm-hmm.
seeing us as the expert of everything around them.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm. Yep.
Absolutely. Anybody else?
Well, they start becoming too dependent on you. And now
Right.
you don't want to
And
do
that,
anything. Now it's like, oh, okay, well, you do it for me. You've been doing everything else.
mm, yep.
Yeah, expecting them to do it. And we've probably all been here too. A lot of times they're going to expect other providers to do the same thing. I know I've gone into a home where they're like, "Oh, well, so and so does this for me," and I have to sort of talk that through with them. They're going to expect that other providers will do everything for them too.
Yep. So initially, what happens when we do too much, as we all kind of discussed earlier, but there's some points we did not. They don't learn to advocate for themselves, right? Because it's kind of like your children. Until you start stepping away and allowing them to order something and pay on their own, using that voice of theirs, there's no advocacy being built, right? It's just that reliance on you. They do not learn to navigate because they expect you to find all the services and solutions. They ask you to navigate where this could be for them, print out the maps for them if they have no car. It becomes an issue. Um, and again, if we're trying to work ourselves out of a job, but we got our families to be dependent, they're always going to be calling you. There's not going to ever be that breakaway, that you graduated type feeling. You can leave the nest. They're always going to be coming back. So most importantly, families are robbed of their opportunities to learn because they're not learning anything if you're doing it for them. It's kind of like cheating off that test. You got that 100, but that comes to hit you later in life. You're going to get one of those situations. So, and then ultimately, it's doing too much for the family is not family driven. Family's not driving. And that's exactly what we need to be doing from the get go. They might be feeling any type of way that they are when they come to see you, but they're still driving. They just might need a little help. There's the difference.
So understanding self-efficacy. Self-efficacy is a phrase that I heard for the first time when I started working as an FPA. So I just wanted to make sure that we were all defining and thinking of it the same way. So self-efficacy is a caregiver's belief in their ability to succeed at a task. So caregivers with high self-efficacy persist through challenges, recover from setbacks, and engage more confidently. And what you might see with caregivers with low self-efficacy, they're going to avoid difficult tasks. They may feel defeated quickly, and they may focus on possible failures. Does anybody have any questions or comments on that? So FPAs impact self-efficacy. I would like to say probably more than most other service providers because we are partnering and we're not coming in as the expert. So we're reminding the families, right? You are the expert. You do know what your family needs and what your child needs. And then we're going to really help support them in building their confidence, their skills, their hope, and their problem solving ability. And then once somebody thinks that they're capable of doing something, they can accomplish most things. When they have that confidence in themselves, they will be able to figure a way to the next step. So the PAC framework starts with an action. So the intent to act is a small step towards achieving the caregiver's identified objective. So there's the expected value. What will I get out of this? And this is for the parent to answer. So what will the parent feel like they're going to get out of this? Self-efficacy and ability. Can I actually do this? Attitudes and affect. How do I feel about this? And social norms. What will others think? Oh,
Up
sorry.
too fast. There you go.
Too fast. Okay.
Next.
So, when you're going to use the PAC model, you're going to identify that small step that the caregiver can has said that they want to accomplish that gets them closer to achieving their objective. So, for example, we're going to say Sally wants to connect with a mental health provider for Johnny by making one call a week and engaging with 3 providers in the next 3 months. So that's the objective. So Sally has yet to make the first call to the therapist she identified she wanted to connect with first. You've asked Sally if she needs support, and she says she doesn't. Each time you discuss it, Sally assures you she is going to call this week. Sally confirms that she does want to call, and this is when we break out the PAC model. So we're going to identify the action step. For Sally, it's call the therapist. And then we're going to review each part of the PAC model. So as Sally answers, don't be afraid to ask curious questions. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that. And make sure to take time to explore each barrier or strength Sally may have in each area. And when you're asking about each area, do not offer solutions, which is one of the things I struggle with wanting to do during the PAC model. This is a discovery period.
All right. So opportunities to use a PAC model. Or is there any opportunities that you could think of to use the PAC model to support the family's objectives? This is kind of like an open question for anybody. But the opportunities, I believe, will always present themselves in your first meet, right? So you can see if a family's withdrawn, you can see if they're burnt out. You could, if they tell you, most of the time they'll say some organization failed them before, right? So a previous negative experience has delayed any type of growth. But where you see these possible hindrances, there are opportunities to present to them. All right, I see you've struggled here. I see you struggling here. But I also see you got through here. I see this is what's going on. What is the most important thing that we could work on right now? What is the most taxing item? It might be more than one, but generally this focus on the one that's most important. Does any one of you all who's participated in our 4-day PEP training, when we had role plays, sometimes when you're here in the family, the biggest thing might be a financial struggle. You have to keep leaving work to go accommodate the child, and now the job is on the line. So even if the child might be struggling in school and having all this stuff, that becomes secondary. So how do we get the family to, so what opportunities can we present to mom or dad or both when situations arise in that climate, right? And that could be wraparound, right? That could be some issues because mom doesn't have time for self-care. Mom doesn't have this. opportunities to present a YPA for the youth, someone to work with to start developing themselves. Maybe an opportunity to provide some type of training that the mom or dad might, if they're not working or have been laid off, might have time to participate in to show that they're not alone and navigate, so you as the FPA are also showing your experience that this is why you're here, but sometimes we need to have another form of collaboration, what this could look like. So what opportunities can we bring to the table and have the family pick which ones are most important to them and which ones they would like to navigate. And then we could build a strategic plan on how long that is going to take them to do this, how we do check-ins, what timelines that they are going to set for themselves to help reach these goals. So any type of experience that you're going to hear could ultimately provide you with a way to present opportunities and goals for these families to reach. And the way that we present them can make it less of a burden on them when they see it or hear it from you, depending on the situation and point in time, because the opportunities meeting that family where they are as well.
So, well, go ahead, TJ.
No, that's you.
Okay. So for expected value, remember that we're not solving any area of the PAC model, but you can help a family explore each area. So when a caregiver asks, will this even help? Why should I try it? What's the point? You can explore goals and motivation, connect actions to the caregiver's priorities. Often you can say, like, we had a conversation a few weeks ago and you had mentioned this. Do you think that that may have an impact in this, either positive or negative? Highlight possible positive outcomes and use, last bullet, use previous statements to guide the caregiver. Self-efficacy and ability. Families may think, I don't know how, I failed before, this is too hard. Break tasks into manageable steps. And you want to remember with the PAC model, we're taking that really small micro step out of the whole objective. So for Sally, she's going to be calling providers and connecting over the next 3 months. But for the PAC, we're talking about making that first initial phone call, and that's it. So you're taking a really micro look at what her next action is. Normalize setbacks, build on previous successes, and practice the skills together. Role playing is awkward sometimes, but it's really effective.
Attitudes and affects. Emotional responses can include shame. I should have never let this happen. That's that self-guilt a lot of families might place upon themselves. The anxiety, what if it makes things worse? So when you're in the thick of what's going on, it's hard to understand the forest when you're in the middle of the woods. Frustration. I've tried everything, nothing helps. That's that trauma brain kicking in, right? Because you've done everything, you're so over anxietied out that you believe there's nothing else for you. And then hopelessness. Nothing will help. What's the point? That's when the families have given up. So our strategies are to use empathy. We want to let them know we understand where they're coming from. We're not saying we understand as we're in the same shoes, but we've been through a similar situation. I know what it is to feel helpless, helpful. We all have, especially in these roles that we took upon ourselves. But the empathy is huge for the beginning of building that trust. And validate the emotions. It's all right for everyone to have emotions. It's the only thing that we have to worry about is the actions that come behind those, right? So I always tell the families, you can feel anything you want. It's just how we carry ourselves and what we do with it is going to make or break the goals and objectives we're trying to complete. And then we create emotional safeties. There's a safe space for you. Disclose what you need. It's not going anywhere. And obviously, in the beginning of this interaction, we let our families know about the HIPAA, right? But if it doesn't violate HIPAA, they are with us. We'll hold them down. We'll support them. Whatever they got to say, it's a safe place. We're here to build you up. So, and then lastly, listen before problem solving. Many people have this. It's a hard time because most of us are solution oriented or just want to just dive in and help. But sometimes that help is more destructive, right? So let's listen. If you listen to what they're saying, and more importantly, listen to what they're not saying, we can help guide the family to taking those micro steps to start overcoming those challenges that brought them in that door to begin with. Social norms. Families may worry. It comes up, but these are questions that we need to ask. And families will always say that people will judge them, whether that's their family or people in the community, especially a lot of religious communities. People don't want to disclose what's going on. They're afraid it might get around. My family disagrees, especially if you come from a cultural background like mine. If you have a problem in the family or there's some mental health, you don't disclose it, you keep it inside. And then lastly, the schooling providers won't listen. Many of us have been there. Many of us still are there, contingent on, economic status, degrees. Schools often at times might not listen to the family and believe they know what's best. So our strategies are to explore support systems. Are there any, and can we get you into any if there's not? Address the stigmas. So let's ask the question. So what is the issue with this amongst your family? What are you worried about in this specific diagnosis? Let's get to the bottom of it, and then we lay it all out. I like to use numbers. Statistically proven, trauma is here. The mental disabilities, delays are here. And sometimes things are genetic, but that's okay. It doesn't mean you're at a loss. There's other people going through it, and other people are really successful after they find support and grounding where they feel they can stand as opposed to just floating in limbo. Identify allies. Sometimes you're so stressed out, everybody can look like an enemy to our families. Everybody can look like they're out to get them because they're just that far hurt that nothing's worked before. So we can identify, let's calm them down as being that safe place. Oh, this person A, B, and C. This person, maybe they offer this, or I'd like to join this church, but I don't know A, B, and C. Let's identify those and see if they have anything that can best, in addition to you, help support the families. And then let's build that advocacy confidence, because we have to help our families get a voice, however that's going to look, but they need their own voice. You're there to support them, to cheer them on, push them on, but let's build that advocacy. What do you want? What do you need? And why are we not getting this? And what would it look like? As long as we can provide these tools and this voice, we are doing our job. You want to say
So what
yes. Oh.
So concrete and psychological barriers. There are two types of barriers. The first is psychological obstacles or barriers, and that has to do with attitudes, beliefs, feelings, and previous negative experiences, stigma, etc. And then concrete obstacles or barriers involve challenges such as a lack of childcare, transportation issues, a lack of knowledge, lack of skill, competing priorities, things of that nature. So the last area of the PAC model is to identify additional obstacles. So we discussed that there are two kinds of obstacles, concrete and psychological, and sometimes you will find that barriers can fit into both categories. So a concrete barrier might be work, right? Their work schedule. They can't get off when offices are open. Childcare, they don't have anybody to watch their child, and they can't, maybe an agency says you can't bring your child the first visit. Well, they don't have childcare, they don't have that option. Housing, um, finances, thinking of like that hierarchy, right? If you can't eat and you don't know where you're going to live and how you're going to take care of your family, is really hard to even think about some of the other things that you need to be doing. So remembering that. Scheduling, again, opportunity, transportation, maybe something isn't on a bus line or you live in the rural and, there aren't buses and you can't afford another Uber this week. And then there's psychological barriers. So that's like fear, trauma, distrust from past experiences, maybe shame, anxiety, feeling hopeless, like what is even the point? And it can be really hard to overcome those as well. Can you guys think of any other barriers that maybe you've seen with families that could fit in either one of these categories or both? You can use the chat as well. Nothing? All right. No worries.
So using the pact in conversations, well, we're going to sit with our families. We're going to ask them questions, and then we're going to just sit there and listen deeply. Full body attention, continuing the culture, eye contact, face forward, and just hear what's going on, right? And in that, let's take note of these barriers that they brought to your attention. And then from then, it goes deeper. Well, which barrier is blocking you the most? That's what my follow-up would be. But then for you, as what we're using this PAC model, we're going to determine which PAC areas involved, meaning where they're falling short, what their needs are, and how to best support them. So we're going to use the PAC and go through this checklist to see what's going on. Collaboratively strategize with the family. We're going to strategize needs, wants, desires, and then we're going to make a game plan with the family. Micro steps, meet them where they are. We strategize how we're going to complete these goals. And then we're going to support the implementation. That means we will follow up. We will ask questions, see if they made the phone call, see if they actually went to the building to fill out some forms. And if not, what went wrong? Do you need help in a specific area? What was your drawback, right? So this is our part. We're going to support them in following through. Sometimes they might not in the beginning. That's where we step in. We might have to have them in the room to make that phone call. We might have to take that time to go walk with them to that specific department building their first initial time. But this is how we're going to support them, right? We're going to show up at the IEP meetings. We're going to show up at core hearings and make sure that we're there to support them the best way we can. And when there's progress, any progress, no matter how small, we're going to celebrate. Yo, congratulate you, did a great job at this. You completed this part, and remember just a few weeks ago, a month ago, it was hard for you. But how do you feel about this? What do you believe you gained from this? Let's use some follow-up questions. Make them dive into this feeling of accomplishment. And this is going to keep them coming back, wanting more, and eventually letting you go because they're going to be even more so in that driver's seat. You're Christy.
So here are some helpful questions that you can ask for the expected value. What would improve if this worked? For self-efficacy, what feels the hardest about this? Or maybe what are you afraid of, trying? Attitudes and affect, how are you feeling about the situation? And then social norms, who supports you right now? And with social norms too, sometimes it's helpful to sort of like maybe they'll think about their husband, right? But ask curious questions, see what their best friend thinks about it, or see what their church community thinks about it. Usually, social norms is broader than just who lives in the home. And that might be having a bigger effect on them than they realize. Can you guys think of any questions that you might use in any of these sections? You can use the chat too.
Expected value, when I think of, and I'm sorry I'm on the bus, but like, what would improve if this were?
Yes, absolutely.
Sometimes trying to find out when the same steps So I feel like, that's something. Um, and I mean, I guess I kind of got one for all of them, but what feels hardest, about this? Um, I think that sometimes it's not so much that it's hard, it's just that what they have tried, even if it's been the same thing, it just hasn't worked. So sometimes, just tweaking something, in what it is that, they're doing, or it may be about, their thinking. So changing their thinking, knowing that, even though it's hard, that, it can be done, and having them write out, a plan, or with it being on paper, so it is that they can actually see and prioritize, what should be done first, or you know, um, and then how are you feeling about this situation? I think there's just a number of emotions and feelings that parents or caregivers, are just feeling, and I think that a lot of them just needs to be addressed, just because they're not always thinking about what it is that they're feeling. And
Exactly.
who su- and who supports you right now, we have to think about if they honestly don't have anybody supporting them. And I'm telling you that, and that's personal experience, because I'm experiencing that, right now. Like you, TJ, Ashley know like what it is that I go through. And I think the only support that I have at the moment, where it just feels like it's really constant, is my supervisor. And that's just because of supervision that I do weekly. But outside of
You there, Faith?
we got to think about who is them. So we have to build supports around them. Yeah, I'm here. I'm
Oh,
here.
I hear
Can you hear
you.
me?
Yeah, building people supports around
Oh,
them.
okay.
I love your background.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah,
Thank
so
you.
it's just thinking about, who has supports, because a lot of them don't. And if they really don't, then we have to help them build supports.
Yes, absolutely. Agreed. In the chat, there is, how does your family feel about this? I love that. What is the expectation of this or the outcome? And I think it's important. I really liked this one. Like, maybe the answer isn't going to be positive. Maybe they think that, like, I'm going to call this therapist and I'm going to have to take my kid to these meetings and I'm going to have to call into work, or I'm going to have to leave early from work and I'm going to get written up. And you know what I mean? Maybe they're jumping down that line of thought, but they don't realize it. So that's a really great question. Pilar said that she's previously used, imagine how you would feel if everything fell into place. And I love that too. Like, by offering the support, we can have families feel more at ease and give them hope for the future. Yes. Like, what would it feel like if you were successful at this and help them to, really sort of connect with that possible outcome of success? And then TJ also put in the chat, if you haven't yet, to answer the questions in the chat just for our reporting, please. Yes, Patricia says she would feel overjoyed.
There's just a little case example that you might come across working with a family. A caregiver needs more school support for the child, but initially has stopped responding to the school. So explore what might be influencing the caregiver. Is it a fear of conflict? Is it a previous negative experience? Is it a lack of confidence in themselves or the education system? Is it feeling judged? Could be culturally, could be race, could be economic status. It could just be your education level. Are you feeling judged in a way that you feel embarrassed? Or what a lot of us, we're unsure what to say. Doesn't mean we're anything more than that, but we feel inadequate if we don't know what to say. Yet we know there's a need for our child to receive services for the child to get services? What would that look like? Or is the school going to try and say that you're a bad parent, right? Then this is why your kid is struggling. There's so many reasons that in like this particular case example that the parent might not want to move forward with the school, right? Because embarrassment or negative experiences, or maybe it's just not a good school, whatever the reason, or the school might be against them. And it happens in so many families I've worked with in the past, but these are things that come up, basic questions, you should jot down if you come across, because it might just slip your mind in the moment because you're just so in the moment. But yeah. So scenario. A caregiver has been encouraged by the school to attend a committee on special education. The meetings to discuss additional support for their child. The caregiver has missed the last 2 meetings and tells the FPA, I don't see the point. Nothing's ever going to change anyway, or nothing changes anyway. Next. So this is, everyone can come off real fast. We have a little group discussion. We understand the scenario that the caregiver is encouraged to go, but they stopped attending the last 2 meetings. And you're the FPA, the family peer advocate tells you, the family member tells you, I don't see the point. Nothing's ever going to change anyway. So what is your action step? What may be preventing the caregiver from taking action? And what strategies could you use based on the answers you identified? And then how can empowerment could be strengthened? You can put in the chat, or you can come off. Chrissy also put the scenario in the chat.
So what do y'all feel like the action step is?
Well, I mean, I will have to first do some exploration. You never know if maybe the caregiver is sick, maybe something is going on, what's going on? Why are you missing these last 2 meetings, So I would take the time to explore, ask questions.
Right. So we're going to identify the action steps so that we can go through the PAC model to identify how the caregiver's feeling about it.
Action step would be attending the CSE meeting.
Yeah, that would be great. And then, so when you're actually doing the PAC model, you're never going to answer for the caregiver. But for this scenario, right, we're going to have to sort of surmise based on the situation or the case, what they might think. So what do you feel like might be preventing the caregiver from taking action?
They might not.
I guess it could be a number of things. It could be
So if we
transportation.
They
if
might
we
not.
go ahead.
Sorry. They
Nope.
might not understand like the point of the CSE meeting completely.
Yeah, that's great. Did you have something else, Faith?
Oh, I was just saying that. I'm sorry. I was just saying that it could be a myriad of options. You understand? It could be that it's transportation. It could be, that they're not understanding what is, presented to them. It could be that, the parent or the caregiver, has mental health, challenges themselves. So what they're going through is impacting, what it is that they actually need. So,
Right. So
it
yeah.
could be a number of things.
Yeah. It sounds like that mostly overall that would be like self-efficacy, not feeling like they even know what to do. Vanessa said maybe they dislike the people at the meeting and feel attacked. So that would possibly go to like attitudes and affect. That was personally why I didn't want to go to CSC meetings back in the day. maybe not seeing a change or feeling like there isn't a point to attend since there isn't a change. Again, attitudes and affect, like, why am I going to take time off of work and fight with my boss if nothing's going to happen anyway and they're not going to listen to me? Patricia mentioned transportation, which would be one of those obstacles that we talked about, a concrete obstacle. They might not feel heard during the meetings. And again, that might be self-efficacy. I don't know how to make them hear me, or it might be attitudes and affect. They don't care what I'm saying anyway.
It'd be a cultural thing, or a gender thing.
Mhm.
If it's just a father, usually when fathers come, the meetings tend to be short. They act like the father doesn't know, doesn't care. So let's not jump to conclusions, but these are what we need to discover when we are working with these families as to why they believe it doesn't matter if they show up. All right.
So, common mistakes when using the PAC model: jumping to solutions too quickly, assuming resistance or lack of caring, taking over tasks, overloading families with information, and focusing only on concrete barriers. So, the jumping to solutions too quickly, when I, you know, practice when we're doing the 4-day training, um, it's hard, like when you're talking about, maybe social norms, to not say, oh, well, have you talked to your dad about this? Or have you explained this? Like, that's not when you do that. So when you're going through the PAC model, remember to not offer solutions, but explore where they are and what they're thinking. Um, Assuming resistance and lack of caring, we are all, I'm sure, value family driven care highly, but even the best of us at some point are going to be like, they just don't want to, or they just don't care. Like, I don't get it. But maybe there's something that they don't know, and so we can't know. And so using the PAC model is being curious in a positive way to help them see what is that barrier, what is that thing that might be standing in your way. Sometimes it's even like fear of success, right? Like, I have all of these supports, and what if my kid doesn't need those anymore? What am I going to do? Right? So it can be a whole lot of things. And then taking over tasks. Again, you don't ever want to do something for a family without having the family with you. TJ mentioned printing out a map, right? They don't have data left on their cell phone. Go to the library with them or meet them at the library and print it out there and show them how to do it, because the next time they're out of data and you're not with them, they still need to know how to do it instead of bringing them the map. Overloading families with information. In my experience, very well meaning caseworkers can do this from DSS. I've given them the forms. I've given them all the contacts they could reach out to. I've given them, all the information, and they still aren't doing anything. And I don't know what else I can do. Maybe they're overwhelmed. Maybe they have nowhere to start when they have a stack of papers and they don't even know how to make a phone call successfully and feel confident in doing that. And then focusing only on those concrete barriers. Yes, transportation might be an issue, but look at the whole picture, at the whole person, at the whole family. Does anybody else have like common mistakes that they could see them possibly facing when going through the PAC model?
Yeah, I think one of my mistakes is um because I think that us as if you're going through it personally, I'm saying, already, you have to remember, I'm saying, to make um not try to see similarities in what you're going through and what another family, I'm saying, is going through. Because how you help that family is going to be totally different, than how it is that you would help your family or want, you know what I'm saying, want to help your family. And just to remembering that, just because somebody might say that, you know what I'm saying, they believe in God or they're a Christian, you know what I'm saying, or
Mhm.
whatever, that sometimes, those personal beliefs are gonna outweigh whatever other beliefs it is that, you know what I'm saying, they have because they are frustrated and they just want help.
Yeah. Thank you. It's important, right? Like, and TJ said it, and it's something that I feel pretty passionate about is when you're working as a peer, right? We could choose to say, "Oh, I've been where you are. I know exactly how that feels." Well, you don't. Like TJ and I could go through exactly the same situation with exactly the same age children and all of that. And we're going to have two different experiences and come out with it with two different perceptions of what happened. And so we don't ever know exactly what's happening for a family, even if we've been in a very similar situation. We can just relate with what they're feeling. We can relate with the frustrations or fear for our children, things like that. So, one of my favorite parts of the PAC model is that it is so family driven. So, the caregiver is solely answering the questions to find solutions. And it also reminds the FPA to ask what's getting in the way versus why won't or aren't you doing anything. And it also supports um, building a stronger engagement, improving caregiver confidence, increasing follow through, strengthening the family voice, promoting family driven care, and supporting long term empowerment. When we work ourselves out of this job, we want that family to know that they can do it, right? And um, when you see a family, maybe a year or two down the road, and they're like, you know what, I did it, and like my kid, graduated or whatever their success story is, like knowing that you helped plant the seeds for them to have that empowerment and that knowledge and the um self-efficacy to do that is so rewarding. And we want the PAC model, it's going to shift the question from why aren't they doing it to what's getting in the way, and then helping them identify what's getting in the way instead of us judging and guessing.
So, key takeaways for what the pact is about is understanding instead of solving. We're not, this isn't a math problem for us, it's a math problem for the families. We're just helping them understand the equation. Empowerment over control. We want to give the families all the control that they already have, but to help them acknowledge it by empowering. These services are for you and your family's outcomes. This is how it will benefit you. And this is how we're going to work on building your strengths. Collaboration over compliance. We will always collaborate with families, always have them at the table. And we're not going to just jump because their supervisor or their organization says force the family to do something. That's not the work. That's not the work that we're doing, and that's not what we are credentialized to do. We want to building that self-efficacy. Depending on the trauma and the experience, the efficacy kind of dissipates. We often forget that we have that ability, but we want to rebuild that up and help them acknowledge how to tap into it whenever and ever a situation can and will arise, and then help families move into action. So they've been stagnant for a while. They feel like they've been chasing their tail. There's a saying, it's a African proverb that, a dog has four legs but moves in one direction. We just have to help the family direct themselves in that direction they want to go, step by step, revisiting areas where they might fall short, might have to extend the timeline, but the objective is to help them keep moving forward. That was different. And here's a question for you all. What is one insight or PAC strategy you will take back to you to work with your families? You can come off the mute or you can place it in the chat.
Understanding their point of view.
Change
I
is
think
instant.
for me, it is, remembering that they're not where they want to be, and we have to meet them where they are in order to get them to where it is that they should be.
Absolutely.
Yeah, collaboration. Change is instant. Setting clear goals. Define specific, measurable goals. Knowing that growth is always an option. Yeah, growth is an option. I think actually, most majority of the stuff is an option. You're absolutely right. Kelly said, I like going through the questions so that we can get well-rounded views to help them get through the next steps. And then we have making sure that they stay in the driver's seat and help them see what may be holding them back. Exactly. Sometimes you might need someone to hold the curtain open for you, right? Because we're just so overwhelmed. Our hands are full or our hands are tied.
I like the comment like defining a specific measurable goal. Even when we're not doing that in a larger sense of like the objective, sometimes maybe just really specifically identifying the action step will maybe help movement. Maybe they didn't know exactly what they should do first next time. And just even doing that small piece is part of what's going to help them move forward. So, as we conclude, remember that the PAC model is not about convincing families to do what we think is best. It's about understanding what may be preventing action and partnering with the caregiver to find solutions that work for them. When a family feels heard, supported, and capable, they are more likely to engage in meaningful change. Every conversation is an opportunity to build confidence, strengthen family voice, and promote lasting empowerment. So, a final reflection, every family has strengths. Our roles as FPAs is to help caregivers recognize those strengths, overcome barriers, and take the next step towards the goals they have for their family. And I want to just thank everybody for coming and participating. I hope that this was helpful. These are some upcoming trainings that we have.
In the chat, please, is a Survey Monkey. Please fill it out if you get a chance. But yes, one of the upcoming events is virtual training. How do I find my voice? June 25th between 5 and 7 p.m. It will be on Zoom, and registration's here, and on our website as well for Youth Power. We have a virtual job fair coming up July 21st. If you're an organization hiring, we have a space for you. And if you are hiring FPAs or YBA candidates, that this is where they're going to be able to come in and observe, and you could share your organization. Or if you're looking for work, it's a good place for you to come exercise your credentials as a YPA or FPA.
And also in the chat, this is the lived experience cafe I was talking about. And then Ashley also put the links in the chat.
And then the next TA, presented by me and one of my coworkers, is the dangers of passive screen time for FPAs working with families and children struggling. As many of us know, studies have shown decline in the retention of information, buildup of aggression and stuff due to screen time, often exhibiting in behaviors that get your children in trouble in school and at home, and how we can best support them.
It's a great topic. I didn't hear that one yet.
TJ, the survey is coming up as a youth peer advocate TA training survey. Is that what you wanted?
But as a youth peer.
Okay.
I think TJ.
Bring up the right one. One moment. I'm sorry about that.
Go down a slide. There's this should take you to down. Yeah.
Oh, too fast. This
so
one?
Speedy. The QR code should take you to it. TJ, you gotta leave it up.